Yeah, Chrissy, or start that. Go ahead and start, Chrissy.
Chrissy?
It's been started.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting of the Greenwood Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. for the January 18, 2021 meeting. Roll call, please, Amanda.
Mr. Hoover,
Here?
Mr. Colvin,
Here.
Mr. Rutherford.
Here.
Thank you.
We have minutes before us. We have first the regular session of December 21, 2020. Those have been distributed to members of the board. Any corrections, additions, or deletions from staff? Is there a motion to approve them then?
I move for approval.
Thank
Second.
you, Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the our last meeting of January 4, 2021. In any additions, deletions, or corrections from staff? If not, is there a motion to approve the January 4 meeting minute?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford, second by Mr. Colvin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Chief, are you with us?
I am.
Great, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
You have three items on our agenda. Let's move first to the disposal of ammunition issue.
Okay, we're asking for approval to trade 7,200 rounds of 9mm ammunition and 750 rounds of 40 caliber ammunition to Elmore's Firearms. The total monetary value of the ammunition is $2,488. In return, we will be receiving 8 Safariland holsters. We'll be hiring 8 new officers this year, so that will outfit them. And then 4 AR-15 rebuild kits. And the reason that we are wanting to get rid of this ammunition is the 40 caliber is obsolete to us. We no longer carry 40 caliber weapons. We've switched to the 9mm, and the 9mm rounds that we're wanting to get rid of, we have found fragment in our indoor range, and they were breaking up and ricocheting back and hitting guys in the face. So we are getting rid of those, and we have replaced it with a bullet that is basically coated in plastic to keep that from happening.
Sounds good. Well, if there's no other questions for the chief, I'll move that we find that the ammunition described by the chief is no longer needed and no longer fit for its intended purposes for the city. And we authorize the chief to dispose of that ammunition by private sale according to state statute under terms and conditions in his discretion.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Chief, let's go on to some police department policy you want us to talk about.
Yes, so back in the fall, President Trump issued Executive Order 13929, which in short, if you receive Department of Justice grant funds, which we do, and you want to continue receiving those into 2021, you have to meet the provisions of this executive order, which basically state that we will, by January 31st, revise and amend our use of force policy to exclude the use of chokeholds, except when deadly force is warranted. As you know, we are currently working with Lexipol to completely overhaul our entire policy manual. And what we did was we just moved this policy up to the front, and they have helped us amend it and make it applicable to state law in this executive order. The original use of force policy covered 2 aspects, both use of force and the use of impact weapons. Lexipol's policies break that into 2 separate policies. So the fact that we are going to be repealing the original use of force policy, we will have to replace that with 2 separate policies, which would be policy 300 use of force and policy 303 impact weapons.
And Chief, it seems that from Resolution 2301 that we have, 2101 that we have in front of us, the policy that we're repealing is 86-G-31. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Shannon, Jeff, we have Resolution 2101 in front of us. Do you have any questions regarding that resolution or the policy that Chief Ison has just described?
No, I would move for approval. Second.
Move for approval of Resolution 2101 as prepared. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And Chief, you're still up.
Okay, we are going to be asking to renew Chaplain Scott Miller's contract for 2021. He's doing a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, he and I are going to be reaching out to the Social of Greenwood for possibly a spring project. His church is conducting a fundraising campaign to partner with us and the Social to basically organize a food drive to where the officers go and volunteer for the day, handing out food and working at the food pantry.
Chief, is it essentially the same contract we've had prior year?
Yes.
Questions for the chief on this professional services contract for Mr. Miller?
I'd move for approval. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford moved and seconded by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We'll move a few blocks away with our chief, Chief Hoggett.
Good evening. Tonight I come before you to discuss the consideration of a contract to enter for the replacement of a 2006 aerial ladder device and a 2006 first out engine pumper. What we have worked on and been working on for almost a year now is a cooperative agreement with the Houston Galveston area council that is essentially a co-op of different agencies and allows us to buy these specific models at a discounted price. One of the things that we were looking at with these is not only the fact that they are discounted because of the co-op, but also because of a single source provider in that some of the treatment that they use for the engineered steel that goes into the chassis is above and beyond all other manufacturers at this time period. Not only does it improve the longevity of the chassis, but also it's first in class in safety currently. So I would like to ask the approval and consideration to enter this contract to deliver both of these pieces of apparatus sometime in 2022.
Takes a while to manufacture them, I presume.
Correct. The pumper is approximately 360-ish days. The ladder would be over 400 days at this point.
Have we purchased this brand before?
We have not. We have not. This is a different manufacturer of fire apparatus, one that we have never purchased from, at least in my history at the fire department.
But you're comfortable with them?
I am very comfortable with them. They have been amazing in the process of looking and trying to figure out exactly what piece of apparatus serves the needs and our future needs for the city. They've also allowed us to go tour their facility. And that was actually pre-COVID, so that's how long this has been going on. So we toured the facility and looked at the process of how they have been engineering and making these pieces of apparatus for over 100 years. So they have a little bit of experience in what they're doing with the structural steel with these chassis. And like I said, they're first in class right now for safety ratings.
Are you keeping the old equipment then that we would be replacing?
So the ladder and the pumper that are currently in service would be kept as reserve pieces.
That's probably a pretty good idea.
Any other questions for Chief? If
So I would
not,
move, go ahead.
So
I'm just-
how's the funding of this? Is this
I
is
can,
funding all arranged?
I'll
Yeah,
talk to my
we-
financial advisor.
Yeah.
we've been in contact with Huntington Bank, who we do most of our vehicle leases through. They are comfortable setting us up on a lease for this one as well. So we'll do the funding through them.
Well, I would move for approval.
Second.
and if we could just make certain that the record is clean on this, both Mr. Rutherford and Mr. Colvin. I think it's a single source. We might want to stipulate that the reason we're doing this as a cooperative is because it's only one source for the aerial and pumper, which meet the fire department's needs. Is that correct, Darren?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And then both the mayor and the chief will be signing the contract, which we've got in front of us. And just to put the numbers on the table, the aerial amount is to not to exceed $1,299,125, and the pumper amount will not exceed $799,632. Is that correct, Chief?
That is correct.
Mr. Rutherford and Mr. Colvin, are you comfortable with the motion, including those terms?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions for Chief Hoggett? None, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thanks, Chief. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Petty, I saw you on there.
Good evening.
Hi, Todd.
I'm just here tonight. As you know, we've finally got vehicles in this year, and I'm just here to request approval from the board to work with legal to set up an auction with Christie's Auction House to dispose of some of the vehicles that have been replaced and some of the equipment that didn't quite make the last one out of the move out of the OPPW.
And Jeff and Shan, I think, have you received the list of items that Todd wants to auction off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Petty?
I would move for approval.
I'll second that. The matter of discussion would be the auction off at your discretion, Todd, and using what typical services that you would use.
I'm sorry, Kevin, you cut out on my
Who would you use to auction those off?
typically we use Christie's auction.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to Mr. Hodson with the IDAM compliance plan status update. Sam, are you with us? Mr. Hodson?
He's trying to unmute.
Okay. That's hard for a lawyer to do. Well, since he's got a lot of things on his plate, I don't want to skip around too much.
Mayor, is he one of the call-ins? Mayor, is he one of the call-ins?
Yes, he is the 2257 number.
Chrissy, can you unmute that?
I can only ask to unmute, but I will do that.
You might want to go to the
There he
next
goes.
one. There we go.
Hello.
There it goes. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
We're
Yeah,
just getting
that's
ready. We're getting
Yeah,
ready to
that's
address your IDM compliance plan.
Great. Shauna has prepared the annual report with comments received from the sanitation department, HWC, and the city controller. We are requesting approval of the annual report to submit it to IDEM prior to the January 31st deadline.
Is there a motion to approve that annual report so Mr. Hudson and the department can file that?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up
Next on
is
the
the
list.
community band contract. The terms are the same as the previous years. The contract payment of $5,000 is split between the common council and the mayor's office budget. We would ask you to approve the contract and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Next up is the 2021 contract for Johnson County Senior Services. This again is the same terms as the last year. The contract payment of $5,000 is being split between the common council and the mayor's office. Again, legal would request you to approve this contract and authorize the mayor to sign it.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Passes.
Next up, expiration of the annual contract with the Greenwood Social. The 2021 contract is $40,000 as it was last year. And again, this is split equally between the common council and the mayor's office. We're asking to approve the contract and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Colvin, second. And further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is Aspire Johnson County. It's 2021 contract. This is for $55,000, the same as last year. Again, it's split between the, this one comes entirely from the mayor's office budget. We're asking you to approve the contract and authorize the mayor to sign it.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. Second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Next up is consideration of a contract with Sexton Mechanical Corporation. This is for maintenance to be completed at City Center in 2021. This is a contract in an amount not to exceed $14,700. We're requesting that you approve the contract and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
Was that 4 times a year inspection, Sam?
I believe so.
Okay. I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. Further discussion? In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next up is another Sexton Mechanical contract, this one for the Justice Center, and this one's in an amount of $12,500. And again, we would request you to authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Passes.
Next up is consideration of contract with Business Art and Design. Business Art and Design has been asked to create 2 double-sided aluminum ground signs and 2 Greenwood, the modern logo for the canopy of the fuel farm at a cost of $192 each for the canopy signs and $960 each for the ground signs, for a total contract price of $2,304. Again, we would ask that you authorize the mayor to sign the contract on the board's behalf.
That includes install, right?
Correct.
I move for approval, authorizing the mayor to sign.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Motion passes unanimously.
That's
Sam,
all
is
I
that
have.
all you have? Thank you, Sam. Have a
That's
good
it.
evening.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to Daniel. Are you with us? There you are.
Good evening. I
Hi,
have
Daniel.
two items. The first is for regarding the Val Vista Health System on East Main Street. This is simply requesting that the board would authorize the mayor and deputy mayor to sign on the board's behalf the operations and maintenance manual for water quality so that it can be recorded by the developer at the Johnson County Recorder's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Question, Daniel, have we done some work out there lately? I hadn't recalled anything. I know an M manual now.
Well, they've I guess our stormwater department has recently reviewed it, the O&M manual, and it's all seems to be in order. So it may have just been trying to get a document that we previously did not have.
Okay, great. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes.
My second item, this is regarding the 2020 annual paving project. That project is complete, and it actually came in under budget, almost $32,000 under budget. That was roughly 3.29% under the original contract amount. And so our request is that the board would authorize and approve change order number 1, the final change order for the 2020 annual paving project, and to authorize the mayor to sign the change order document on the board's behalf.
Always like change orders that reduce the price. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Go on to Greg.
All right, I've got two PSAs this evening. Both are related to our comprehensive annual financial report. The first one with NIHART is a evaluation of our other post-employment benefits package and what that basically would cost the city as we plan out several years into the future. We have to put that into our note disclosures of the annual financial report.
Questions for Mr. Wright? Greg, I hadn't seen that. What was the amount on that?
I would have to pull that up, but not certain.
Well, that's okay. If you're recommending to us that it's something you necessarily need, I will take your trust on that.
Okay, it's for the fiscal year ending 12/31/2020, $6,700, and then fiscal year ending 12/31/2021, $2,900. So it's a 2-year cycle.
Any other questions for Greg on that one? Is there a motion to approve that PSA? Okay,
Move for approval.
thank you, Mr. Colvin. I'll second that. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Greg, what else do you have, sir?
And the second one with Kavanaugh McDonald is related to the PERF valuation. This was sent to us from PERF. It is basically any community that does a CAFR and requires a valuation has to pay for their own. So they're getting a discounted price on that volume wise, but we are having to pay our piece of that.
Questions for Mr. Wright on this one? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Anything else, Greg?
That's it.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Reverend Rutherford, I think you're up.
I would move for approval of the claims.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We go to the calls from anybody. If not, we'll stand adjourned at 5:55 PM. Thank you all.
Thanks, Kevin.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
You're
Randy,
welcome.
you'll tell us when we need to see you. Is that correct?
Yes, hopefully I'll put the signables in the room in the morning with Daniels and we'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening all.